This video will demonstrate how to build a computer. We've asked a computer technician to put together a machine for us. This is an empty desktop case. It comes with spaces to hold the motherboard, the computer components and the hard drives. This computer already has a power supply installed, though these can be purchased separately. Next, the motherboard is installed. Note the clip that the technician uses to connect himself to the workbench. This stops any static electricity from earthing through the equipment. The motherboard is screwed and clipped into place using smaller spacer screws called standoffs. These hold the motherboard away from the case. The panel connectors are fitted. These connect the computer components to the lights and buttons on the front of the case. These can be a nightmare. Refer to both your motherboard and case documentation to work out the pin configuration. The power supply is then connected to the motherboard. Don't turn on the power supply before you connect it to the motherboard, as this can damage many power supplies. Next, the CPU is installed. CPUs are extremely delicate items. Try to handle them as little as possible, never touching the pins. Carefully line up the pins with the socket in the motherboard provided. All CPUs have some way of letting you know which way round to go. Many have a missing pin in one quarter to assist aligning them. Your CPU's documentation will explain what system is used. This is very careful work. Permanent damage in this step is very easy. You should never need to use any force. Once the CPU is in place, it is secured with a clip. Next, the CPU's heatsink is installed. This draws heat away from the CPU, stopping it from overheating. Most heatsinks come with an attached fan. Take care when unraveling wires which may be wrapped around a new fan. A thermal compound is applied to the bottom of the heatsink to allow fast transfer of heat. Once the heatsink is in place, it too is clipped in. Remember to plug in the fan. This connector can be hard to find. Refer to your motherboard's documentation for help. Next, the RAM is installed. RAM chips have little notches that fit over corresponding tabs in the RAM slot. Make sure the tabs and notches are lined before you try to insert your RAM. If the tabs and notches don't match, you have incompatible RAM. As you push firmly, the retainer clips should click inward, securing the RAM in place. The case comes with slot covers that stop dust from entering through unused expansion slots. A quick turn of a screwdriver will deal to these. Next, any expansion cards are installed. We are installing a separate video card. Like RAM, expansion slots have keys and tabs that align before inserting. It takes a little more pressure to get these cards to click in. Apply gradual pressure until the cards pop into place. Finally, the card is screwed into place. Next, the hard drive is mounted and clicked into place. It is then connected to the power supply and the motherboard. Note, the hard drive containing your operating system should be connected to the primary SATA controller on your motherboard. Next, the DVD drive is connected. These drives fit into larger bays on the machine and need to be slotted in from the front and secured before they are connected to the power supply and the motherboard. Check all of the power and data cables are connected and attached correctly. Make sure that all wires and cables are safely tied away from the fans. Make sure the power supply is set to the correct 240 volt standard. If the voltage is incorrect, the power supply will blow its fuse and cause irreversible damage. Make sure there are no tools, screws or jumpers floating around in the case. Check that all expansion cards and RAM modules are securely seated. Connect the power cable to the power supply and plug into the wall. Fire it up. You should hear a single delightful beep and then it'll fire up to an error screen. This is because our computer has no operating system installed. I'll explain operating systems in the next tutorial. In summary, all of the components of a computer go inside the casing. Begin by connecting the power supply, motherboard, CPU and fan. Be especially careful with the CPU. Secure all components with clips or screws. RAM and expansion cards click into place. The CD/DVD drive slots in from the front. Check all connections, clips and screws. Check your power supply voltage. Tidy cables away from fans and put away tools before powering on your new computer.